All right, so I'm going to answer a question that Dustin Lyndon Smith posted on the Facebook page for the Three Illusions Facebook page. So Dustin says that in the last video I said something to the effect of, there's no point in feeling anger or anxiety towards someone once you realise that our own thoughts and reactions, just like their thoughts and reactions, are not governed by our individual free will, as we traditionally know it, but rather are simply governed by the laws of physics. Well, yep, that's true. He says, this would seem to connote that we possess no particular control over our thoughts or actions, which I find difficult to accept. But if your premise is true and we have no free will, I find it hard to swallow this basic premise that we can or cannot choose to feel anger, that we can or cannot choose to feel anxiety, or that we can or cannot choose to do anything at all. The way you describe your present approach to life sounds like a choice you've made, does it not? You're choosing not to engage in anger, fear, or anxiety about the future because you understand that they're all an illusion. How can you resolve that incredible paradox? It feels like you're asserting an arbitrary hands-off approach to life. Good question. Well, no, I'm not suggesting that it's free will. Obviously, Dustin, I don't believe in free will. I believe free will is scientifically invalid. As I think I said in the book, decisions are really thoughts. Thoughts are properties of the brain. The brain is made of chemicals, and chemicals obey the laws of chemistry 100% of the time. So there's really no room in the way the brain works for something happening outside of cause and effect, which is how we traditionally think of free will. We think that we're able to make decisions outside of cause and effect, which is obviously just ridiculous. It's an invalid proposition. So when I said in the last video that as a result of the information that I put in the book, you are likely to feel a lot less of those negative emotions, or in fact they'll pretty much go away altogether. Fear, anxiety, guilt, doubt, anger, all those sorts of things. I'm not suggesting that you will choose not to have those things because you don't have free will. What I'm suggesting is that once you have this new information and you accept it, that those things will pretty much disappear of themselves. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Imagine, as I think I said in the last video, that you find out when you're 25 that your parents aren't your birth parents, that they're your adoptive parents and you were adopted. You have this new information, people give you the facts, you believe it. You don't have to choose not to think of those people as your birth parents. You, from that point on, know that they're not your birth parents. Still might love them, but you know that they're not your birth parents. You have the new information, which is going to change the way, from that point onwards, about how you think about those people, and how you think about yourself, perhaps, and how you treat them. And how you, excuse me, how you think about yourself as well. Like, in terms of genetic traits or inherited traits and that sort of thing. Same sort of thing. Once you stop believing that you have free will, once you stop believing that other people have free will, a natural consequence of that, over time, this may not happen to you immediately, but as you sit and think about the consequences of that new knowledge, is that you will just stop having these emotions as strongly as you had them before. Now, I'm not saying that if you're getting chased by a tiger, you're not going to experience fear. There are good biological reasons for that kind of fear. Or if, like immediate physical harm type fear, your brain is programmed to have those things. What I'm suggesting is that the kinds of things where you lie awake at night worrying about, what somebody might do tomorrow or what might happen to your job, and those sorts of things that happen in our brains will disappear because you will realize that you don't have any free will. And that things were going to happen as they have to happen because all objects, including people's brains in the universe, are made of atoms. Atoms always obey the laws of physics. And the outcome of any event is kind of preordained by the laws of physics. If you're in a difficult interpersonal situation with your partner or somebody else, a colleague, somebody verbally attacks you, you may have this defensive chemical reaction, fight or flight syndrome, where you feel angry or hurt or whatever. But very quickly, after the moment passes, you won't hold on to that anger or fear or resentment, because you will understand with this new knowledge, well, they had to do what they had to do based on the neurochemical structure of their brain at the time, based on their atoms, based on who they are. They had to do exactly that thing at the time. And similarly, you will not feel feelings of guilt or anger at yourself for things that you have done, because you will accept naturally that that was what you had to do at that time based on your atoms. These aren't things that you choose to accept or not accept. Once you have this new information, it happens by itself. Another analogy I sometimes use is thinking about a computer, an iPhone. My iPhone broke down on me again a couple of weeks ago, and I was frustrated and angry for the first minute when it wouldn't boot up. But I didn't have like anger towards the iPhone for a long period of time, because it's a machine. It does what it has to do based on what's happening inside of it, right? Well, humans are no different. We're atom machines. We do what our atoms have to do. So it's very similar. I mean, you can't be angry at an iPhone for a long period of time unless you're a little bit nuts, maybe. And you don't have to choose not to be angry. I think it's just anyone who's psychologically balanced isn't going to be angry at a machine for a long period of time for breaking down. I'll go on with Dustin's question. If I have no free will, what made me buy your book and read it? What made me join this Facebook group to participate in this discussion? And what made me click on the link to watch this video and then respond to it? Atoms. That's what made it happen. All of those things were decisions that were made by your brain. Decisions are just thoughts. Thoughts are the result of complex neurochemical processes in your brain. But those processes obey the laws of chemistry every time. If my thoughts and actions are governed and generated by simple neurophysiological cause and effect, where is the meaning in any of this, in life at all? Why should I take anything seriously? Indeed, how can I take anything seriously? It seems impossible to take anything seriously at all. Congratulations. You're absolutely right. It is. When you realize that everything that happens in the universe is the result of the laws of physics that started with the Big Bang 13.7 billion years ago and are just playing out, it's very hard to take anything seriously at all. Now that doesn't mean that you won't continue to live your life and work a job, run a business, write a book, have relationships, whatever. But you will understand that all of these things are just the natural unfolding of the laws of physics on matter. Matter with, matter being the matter that everything's made of. It doesn't matter, it's just matter. I should copyright that. One of the analogies I think I used in the book and I sometimes use with people is thinking about actors on a stage. Imagine an actor performing the role of King Richard III. If they're a good actor or a method actor, when they're on stage, they absolutely believe they are Richard III. They're thinking like him, they're feeling like him, they're experiencing his emotions. But deep down, underneath all of that, the actor realizes that he's just an actor and none of this is real, but he has a role to play and he's playing it. Similar thing happens when you realize you're just atoms. You'll continue to function in your life and be a human and do the things that you're doing. But deep down, you understand that this is really just all atoms playing out, and it's very hard to take it seriously. You will continue to play the role of Dustin Lyndon Smith from Nova Scotia, but there will be this deep underlying sense of calm and peace that I talked about in the last video, because you know that everything is just playing out as it has to, as determined by the laws of physics. The universe is unfolding, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. In fact, there's no one to do anything about it. We're all just atoms. He goes on to say, when I discussed this with my logical, scientific-minded physician wife, her immediate retort is, well then, I suppose you don't feel the need to take any responsibility for your actions, is that it? If you cheat on me, if you lie to me about something important, then it's just fine because you had no free will to decide to do that. She's right. When taken to its logical conclusion, is this understanding incompatible with the most common interpersonal relationships? Not at all. She's right. You won't feel any of those things, and if you do any of those things, it'll be absolutely what you had to do based on the neurochemical structure of your brain at the time. Conversely, if she does any of those things, the same rules apply, and you can't be angry at her because she does what she has to do. So it's not a one-way deal. And, I mean, the bottom line is, like it or not, find this uncomfortable or not, these are scientific facts. This is how the brain works. So, you can fight it, you can argue against it, but at the end of the day, this is how it works. This is the science, so you might as well just accept it and think about, well, what does it mean? Now, of course, one of the questions people often have is about morals and ethics and the legal system if we have no free will. The morals of society and our approach to handling legal situations has changed a lot. I think I touched on this in the book. I mean, 100 or 200 years ago, people still believed in evil spirits forcing people to do bad things, and they were treated in their judgment accordingly. They were drowned or burned or executed because evil spirits were making them do bad things. We got over that, and as we became more scientifically aware, and we changed our legal processes and our social understanding accordingly. Same thing needs to happen with free will. Now, if there was a mass murderer, a serial killer, I would be the first person to say that person has no free will. They are doing absolutely what they had to do based on the neurological structure of their brains. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, though, that they shouldn't be removed from society and treated, and we shouldn't try to understand what happened in their brain. Our legal and moral understandings need to catch up with the fact that there's no free will. But in terms of interpersonal relationships, yeah, I mean, if you do any of those things, they're absolutely what you had to do. There's no point you feeling guilty. There's no point that person being angry. Everyone will just be a lot happier if they accept that things happen as they have to happen. And, I've had this understanding, I've had this philosophy for 21, 22 years now. I've been through multiple relationships and marriages in that time. Some where I've cheated, some where I've broken up with people, some where they've done it to me. And the rules apply. I mean, I can't feel angry towards someone who cheats on me for very long anyway, maybe for an instant, but it dissipates pretty quickly because I know that they did what they had to do. That's the chemicals, the atoms in their brain function according to the laws of physics. Finally, Dustin says, there's something in there about determinism and fatalism I'm likely not understanding too, but maybe I don't need to understand those concepts in order to find peace in this. I think I'm just having some trouble accepting the notion that I have no control over my thoughts, feelings, or emotions. I have trouble accepting that because I've spent my whole adult life trying to understand, control, and or mitigate my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I've spent years trying to improve my character, trying to extinguish unhealthy thinking patterns and behaviours, and just generally trying to be a better person. If what you say is true, I feel like I've been deluding myself this whole time. Well, you haven't been deluding yourself. Well, you have been deluding yourself. I mean, if you've been doing it thinking you had any control, then that's delusion. But that doesn't mean that trying to improve your character or trying to be a better person, quote unquote, is a bad thing or something that you shouldn't do. I mean, saying that we have no free will doesn't mean that we don't learn and we don't change and our brain doesn't grow new neurons over time and we don't become better people, for want of a better term, better being subjective. And once you have this understanding, you will continue to do that, quite probably. You will continue to learn new things, skills, ways of dealing with people. You will read books, you'll talk to people, you'll see things on the internet, on the YouTubes, and you'll learn. And you'll change. What will change, though, is you will understand that you don't have any free will about this. This is all just happening according to the laws of physics. A chemical fires in your brain, causes a neuron to activate, which causes other neurons to activate, like one of those domino things where you hit a domino and all the rest of the dominoes fall. And that chemical process in your brain results in a thought, which is a decision, which causes an action. But if you trace it all the way back, it started with probably some sort of input in your brain from something you read or something external to the brain, which activated an electrochemical signal, which started the process. So I hope that helps. You are just stardust, my friend. You were just a collection of atoms that was created between 8 to 10 billion years ago in a giant sun going supernova, or collection of giant suns. Some of you is made of hydrogen, which came from the Big Bang. All of the subatomic particles came from the Big Bang, so all of your base components are 13.7 billion years old. And they've been operating according to the laws of physics for that time, and they'll continue to do so until the universe collapses or dissipates into the big, slow death of the universe. I hope that helps, and thanks for the question. Any other questions or feedback or arguments people want to have, feel free. But I just want to finish by saying one thing. Don't take anything I say on faith. The book or anything I say in these videos is just a pointer. You need to sit with it yourself and think about the facts, the scientific information. Is it true? You don't have to be a theoretical physicist, obviously, but most of us accept that we are all made of atoms and that atoms obey the laws of physics. I think that's fairly well accepted by most people in the developed world. So if that is true, what does that mean for how you think and who you are, what your identity? If your body is just trillions of atoms that are being replaced constantly, what does that mean for who you are? What is it that is intrinsic to who you are? Can you find anything that is intrinsically you, or are you just these atoms that come and go? You need to sit and think about that deeply. You need to think about what that means for you, the consequences of this information. What does this mean for how you live your life? All I can tell you is that I've been living with it for over 20 years, and it certainly makes my life flow easier. I'm grateful to the man who put me onto this, Sailor Bob, when I was in my late teens. And I think without this information in my life, I don't know what would have happened, where I would be. So I'm sharing it for what it's worth. Take it, leave it, whatever works for you. All right, thank you, Dustin. Thanks for everyone watching, listening. Go to the website, just3illusions.com, the Facebook page. Just search for it in Facebook, I guess. Cameron Riley on Twitter, or email me, cameronriley@gmail.com. And talk to you soon.